Here we go again. Okay, welcome everyone. My name is Mroczek, Bayci, and we are here for virtual programming development. Feel free to interact. This is a short presentation, but interaction is just really important and it's good to help us learn more and all work together because that's something I always try to do. So if you want to say where you're from, what type of library, go for it. That would be great. And I am from the Chicago suburbs. I have started recording, so just so you know, this session is being recorded. And we need a moment to thank our founding partner, SJSU School of Information. And I just want everyone to know that we have our moderator friend, Barbara, here today. So thank you for helping us out, Barbara. She will be monitoring the chat, so you are free to put any questions you have in the chat. Barbara will be taking care of them and then she'll ask them at the end. So you can ask when it comes up. Okay, the baby has attended this presentation. We'll get some video. Hi, this is Abby. Hello, and welcome to Virtual Programming Development. My name is Mroczek. I'm a children's librarian in the Chicago suburbs, a mom of 2 under 2, if you can't tell. And for me, this pandemic has helped me working virtually and doing more virtually because as a new mom, it's been very hard, but it also adds a little bit of flexibility and hard. So we're going to start with using some interaction. So if everyone can go to menti.com and enter the code 422-1480, that's menti.com. 422-1480. We have a question that you're welcome to answer. And our question is, what comes to mind when you think of the future of virtual programming? What do you think of? So that is menti.com, and I'm seeing some answers: accessible, hybrid, continuing, challenges, planning. You're right. Accessible, stress, flexibility, panic, hard work, fun. Yes, it definitely is all of those things. Uncertainty. We have been living in this uncertainty for the last 1.5 years, and that is so true. And I think something that's really important to me is that virtual programming is something that has come out of this pandemic and something that shouldn't be quick to leave from all of your libraries. And that's something to think about. Keeper, lack of buy-in, outreach, Zoom burnout, so true. But you get to see people like babies, right? Say hi, Abby. So many different things. Really good. I can share this word cloud because I think it's fun to see what everyone says. So this will get added and shared with my slides at the end. So you'll be able to see what everyone says and you can continue thinking of different things. And then I am going to change it on my end, maybe, to our next slide. And we have a little poll for our next Mentimeter slide. And Mentimeter is a nice resource because it's something, as you can see, we're interacting right now. And I like the idea of being able to interact with presentations and kind of give different people something different to be able to see. So we'll take a moment. My presentation is mad at us, as always, in technology too. But keep up your Mentimeter. We are going to get a new question in just a moment. Maybe. And we will forego. Okay, yes, it's here. What is your biggest roadblock with virtual programming? There's a lot of different ideas there. What is your biggest roadblock? And you can say something else too. Yes, having people show up, having staff do it. I know something I'm struggling with right now. I am doing this program, but because I'm sharing my screen, I'm really struggling with how many of you I can see. So I kind of like having this poll on the screen because it helps me see that there's at least 24 people here. So that is definitely helpful. And yes, if you have something else, you're welcome to say it in the chat. And now I'm making it so I can see. Oh, hi, baby. So biggest roadblock, it looks like the biggest one is having people show up, followed by technology failures. And I think those are all very important. That's something we can talk about, especially as the world is moving on more and opening up. Are we still going to have people coming to these virtual programs? And how can we make sure that they actually attend? And that is something that is quite important. And now we'll get back to our regularly scheduled slide. I will share the poll and results at the end with the slides that are sent out. So then you'll be able to see what we said. And I think we're definitely at a pivot time in virtual programming in this journey. We started back in March 2020 where there was the shutdown panic and no one knew what was happening. And then we moved on to asking the question, how do we do this? How can we reach people? And then it started, let's try everything, do all the programs, something every day, Facebook videos, YouTube videos, everything we can possibly do, printable packets. And then it kind of realized that there was so much content being produced and weren't people actually looking at it. Then it was time to have a quality check and think about what your library was actually putting out and how it could be well. And then we moved on to are we ever going to go back to normal? When is this going to end? Are we there yet? And I think where we really are now is in the now what? Now things are opening. Now things are changing. And what is normal? What is happening? And that is an important thing to think about. And if you want to share what your library is doing in the comments, that would be great too. I'm at 2 libraries a little bit right now. One in Arlington Heights this summer is starting a lot of outside programming, and then a very minimal amount of indoor personal programming. And that's something for like the toddler age group, and then 1 or 2 grown-up programs. So if it's possible to be online, they are still staying online. And then some people have completely stopped their virtual programming. My old library has completely stopped all virtual programming and is going in person this summer. So it's interesting kind of seeing the different ways it is across the board. And something to think about for today, the definition we're going to be using for virtual programming is anything remote. This can become synchronously or simultaneously or individually, asynchronously, or also what's really starting as a hybrid format. And is that where the future is right now? And something I think is really important is that virtual programming is here to stay. And some libraries can be in a rush to get rid of it, but I think it is something that we all learned how to do. We all learned how to do it well. It is accessible. It can reach so many people that wouldn't normally get out of the house, that wouldn't be able to make everything. And it can help people understand, people that can see slides, people that can do captions. And it's something important. During this day and age, it's important to have different options for people, and virtual is one of those options. So I think moving forward, what's important is we need to embrace the new normal. We need to support it, but we also need to give the proper attention and time to getting quality virtual programs, to making sure you have enough staff to do them, and whatever it is in person. I think that is something so important for staff, for administrators, for everyone. It's easy to say, but it's hard to follow and actually implement, and that's so important. Moving forward, I think there's a lot of questions that come up. What is our new normal? Yes, we're looking at a lot, take and makes. We're looking at outside programming, doing something virtual, doing hybrid, getting engagement. What does this mean moving forward? Is your library moving back to the completely old schedule? And that is something that I really advise against, because so much has changed and your audiences have changed. It's been a year and a half. And now is the time to think, what does your population want? What do they need? What is working? What are they attending? And why is it working or why not? And that's something to think about as an individual organization. Are they not coming to your virtual programs because of the time? Are they not coming because there's too much else going on? Are they coming a lot to something because it really works out, but it doesn't fit that age group best? It's important to look at those statistics and try to get feedback. Formal surveys can be really helpful, but not always fly in every library. I think I've gotten a lot of feedback just by casually asking people, asking them to talk in the chat, asking them at the end of program, and just finding ways to get their feedback. Another thing to think about is these virtual programs. Are they being accessible? Are they being friendly? Are you having captions on the program? We don't have captions for this one, so I apologize, or subtitles. Are you offering a recording after, sending out slides? I send out slides after my story times because I think it can be really nice if a caregiver missed something and then they're able to see what we did and they can check out the book themselves. And another important thing to think about is what population are you not reaching and why are you not reaching them? Do they not have internet? Do they not like the programs you're offering? Do they not know they're happening? These are all important things to look at as you're planning these programs and moving forward, trying to decide what we do. Yes, I see, like in Google Meet with the live captions. And actually, Rev is something to look into that does really good captions. And also Zoom is starting the live captions and you can sign up for it. So if your organization hasn't, you can go through Zoom and you can sign up to get their subtitles. They're not perfect, but they're definitely helpful. So I know that we have over 70 people here, so we have a really great brain. So if you can take some time, put in the chat, out of all the programs and everything virtual you've done, what are you proudest of? What was the most successful? For me, it was a virtual field trip. And that is where we went to different destinations. We did it with families. And for one, we did seeing different animals and looking at live cams. And we let the families vote on polls through Zoom for what animal we got to see next. And then we got to go view that animal on the live cam. So that was kind of a cool way to travel other places and do something with it. And there was a lot of interaction and voting and in looking at everything. Another field trip we did is we got to vote what destination we went to, and then we were able to go on a tour. So that was fun. And I know I saw someone mentioning how the interaction can be really complicated and hard to get. So that kind of helped, having the polls, having the voting, that made the people more invested in the program. My husband and I did a magic show for his birthday, and it was a magician, and he had card tricks, and you had to bring your own deck of cards, and he would tell you what to do with the cards. So that level of interaction also was really fun. So I'm seeing some really good ones along the chat, and that should go out with the slides if you want to catch up. But I'm seeing that virtual cooking went pretty well, and that's been fun. That can be something that families do or on your own. There's also something kind of Nailed It. If you've seen the television show, that can be fun to do a virtual program where everyone kind of does their own and then shows them us. I'm seeing poetry open mic event, playing Among Us competitions, adult story times of different books, author talk, virtual D&D. So I think what's really important is to capitalize on what was successful. Look at those programs, talk to the people that attended them, see why they liked it, and then see what you can do similar off of that that might be good. And kind of going, it's also good to look at your ideas and look at what you're doing. How can you make it deeper? How can you expand on it to engage people? I saw people talk about story time, and I think dial-a stories can be good, or adding a chat before or after the story time. I have picked up props or a craft to go with it. I've seen book clubs that use a central hub on Google Meet or on Google Classroom that kind of has, or Facebook with summer reading programs that have an added element. I've seen gaming programs that add a fandom idea, that add board game and distance gaming, and really just have these online sites and add the unique capabilities. I think with virtual programming, you really have a lot of openings with neighboring libraries, with neighboring schools. I've seen some really cool programs that have been a lot of schools going together, and all of the schools or libraries have put their money together to do a program and have been able to collaborate a lot more than they would have in normal life. Also paid presenters. You can not pay for travel fees, which is pretty awesome. And that's something to think about is who did you think was a cool presenter from a totally different country or state or across the globe? And they could maybe go virtually and not necessarily be there. Yes, I see dial a story. This would be where if you had I was supposed to do questions at the end. But sorry, I was into that. So dial a story is something where you could call a phone number kind of hooked up to the library's line. And then it is a pre-recorded story that a librarian or someone is reading. And that could also be an adult story too, or something. And that can be nice because it can go to people that aren't using, that don't have Wi-Fi, that don't have internet. And it can also be available, that recording, at any time of day. Oh, Evan, different languages. That is awesome too. And you can kind of choose the option, I'm guessing, press 2 for Spanish, plus 3. That all sounds like really good ideas that can be helpful. So yeah, I think it's good to think you're already doing so many awesome things at your libraries. And that is something that is important to celebrate. So good job. You are being librarians during a pandemic and doing great at it. And it's something also to remember is that we're still going and we're finding this new way to be accessible. And there's so many different possibilities and different things you can do. But you need the staff and the manpower. So please tell your supervisors that. Tell them you heard it from this presentation and that you need the manpower to be able to do these awesome programs. And funds, that's important too. And we talked a little bit about reaching people and populations that you might not always find. And I think something important is promotion can seem overrated. There are so many digital tools, newsletters, Facebook, social media, everything. And I think it's important to at least share something using all these different tools. Even if it seems redundant, you are going to find people that only subscribe to the newsletter or only use print if you want to keep doing a print guide, or only are on Instagram. So this might seem repetitive, but it's still important if you want to reach people. I think it's also good to meet people where you are. I've seen a lot of success from bookmobiles, and I think that can be really helpful, just coming to the people. Then also when you're at the bookmobile, you can really promote digital programs or different things they might do if they just can't get to your library. And I think don't underestimate word of mouth. That is always my best promotion. That is always how I get the most people at my programs, is just telling them about it. Telling them I have a book club, telling them I have a story time, and telling them right then, here's the link, let me email you, you should come. And that really gets the people. And we kind of talk a little about digital access to many libraries. Both my libraries offer Wi-Fi hotspots for checkout. They're always super, super popular, kind of going through a phone network. We use Verizon, and they go through them and you have the Wi-Fi hotspot and you can check it out for a 2-week time period. And that's a way you can use Wi-Fi. I think working with school can be good, with talking about devices and how they can access them. One library I was at, we put programs on a flash drive, and you could borrow the flash drive with the videos on it. And that was a way to get you if you didn't have digital access. Another idea I've seen, open office hours, helping people. I saw in the chat a little bit about just having the chat there. And I also think that office hours can be good for troubleshooting Zoom, or kind of helping people that might not have the experience and might still be scared about it. Is kind of having a time when someone is available in Zoom or on chat to be able to talk to people. Frequently asked questions can also be helpful. The things that we think are second nature aren't second nature to everyone else. And that's something we know as librarians, and it's important. Okay, I'm doing okay on time here. Yes, I saw Google Meet because it's only on public school iPads. And that's something important too, looking forward and seeing what you're using. And while you're using it, you have to see what your boundaries are, what your organization is doing and what's working. Maybe you have been using Zoom this whole time, but maybe you've not been reaching people because Zoom just doesn't work for them. And that's something that's really important to remember and to look at. And a big question always and everywhere is copyright. And copyright is something that is very stressful and confusing. And what I always like to tell people is you need to do your best to follow the rules, but you need to make your own limits. You can see I put right here, be on the same page with your organization. I put that more than once because that is so important. There can be many different interpretations about these different rules regarding copyright, regarding fair use, regarding using a book or using something during a live story time. I go by the interpretation that if it's live, it doesn't matter that it's digital, because if it's not being recorded, it's okay. But what's important is one organization that I had did not support that. So I needed to follow what they were doing if I wanted them to have my back. My most recent organization, they just claim everything is fair use, and they record full books, they record everything. And they have not had an official complaint yet about copyright. And if anyone has had an official complaint about copyright, I would love to hear that in the chat too, because that is something that I think is interesting, and it's good to share what is actually happening and what is happening with these permissions. A lot of permissions might be ending, or publishers have really strict rules. So it's important to see what your organization is doing and be on the same page. I can just say that so many times. So I know we covered a lot. This was a lot in a short amount of time, but this only 30-minute presentation is very fast. But I think something important about it to remember is that we don't have all the answers, but we're here and talking to other people is really huge. To think deeper about your programming, to think deeper about how you're developing it and what you're using and why, and moving forward, who you're trying to reach and why. And I think having conversations, seeing what different libraries are doing is so important. And that's what we're doing right now. And you have my information on here. You can email me. I'm always open to questions or hashing things out. I've been at a lot of libraries. I'm connected. I love kind of working through issues someone might have. And if you have any questions right now, first we're going to have Barbara tell me if there's any. And then if you have any more, you can put them in the chat too. And yes, we have the SLJ document on storytime permissions that can be really helpful, kind of looking at the different publishers and what they have added. And yeah, Barbara, did we have any questions?
No questions at the moment.
Okay. Well, if you have any, you're welcome to put them in the chat. We have about 5 minutes. We explained what Dial a Story was. I saw some really awesome ideas in here. And checking each publisher's website, I saw from Janet. That is also very important. I will add to my slides. I have a very nice link a friend of mine made that just links to every publisher and their specific page about permissions. So that's really nice because you can see what they are doing and kind of just go live to that publisher's page. So I will add them to my slides because I didn't mail them out yet. So that was helpful. And Evan has a very elaborate. And yes, emailing directly can be really helpful. That can be a good way to getting individual permission. Sometimes they'll tell you no, but sometimes they'll tell you yes too. So that's really helpful. And yes, this was so fast. And if you have questions, you're welcome to ask. I'm kind of going through the chat. I saw so many good ideas. And I think that's something really important to remember is look what other libraries are doing. And that's something that's really helped me in my virtual programming is there's also a new opportunity to shadow other people. And I've observed programs in a lot of different states that I wouldn't have been able to normally see, different librarians, and been able to see what they're doing and in their programs. So that's something you can do is look at different libraries, look at their websites and see if you can shadow or see if you can attend their program and have fun. And that can be a way to get ideas and also have a good time. So we're finishing up, I think. And yeah, I didn't see any more questions, but you have my contact information. I'll stay around if anyone wants to turn on their microphone and ask a question too. You're welcome. And if not, you can move on to the next one. Thank you so much for attending today. And you're all I guess I can stop the recording too, the silence.